Because even if the movie itself wasn't bad, the direction isn't. I want to go.
Yeah, but it's not as if the movie was, the writing could use some work, but like overall, for a separate continuity of the Transformers lineage, Bumblebee was pretty okay. I didn't see the Transformers Age of the Primal Beast or whatever, Rise of the Beast, but I want to go see it. I heard that while the story sucks ass, the fights were just there. I don't know.
We're live, aren't we?
Oh yeah, we're live. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the BS podcast. I'm Shard.
I'm Blaze.
Yes,
this is your weekly dose of bullshit, and apparently also a random YouTube poop of bullshit of our random Transformers conversation.
Hey,
what a way to start the stream! Ain't that something?
To all fellow listeners, if you have seen or wish to see the Transformers 1 movie, do it now while it's in theaters, because once it leaves theaters, it might be a long ass time before it reaches your local streaming service. This is not a sponsor nor or any form of promotion. I am just flat out a massive Transformers fan. I grew up with that shit. I was a massive Bayverse fan.
Yeah, we both were, but I clocked that after the Bumblebee movie.
Hey, that movie was fucking great.
Like I told you, the movie isn't bad. It's just that the direction it was going after the fact just wasn't hitting it for me. So that was that. But focusing on the stream here today. Welcome back, everybody. This week is going to be a little expected, and if you haven't already tell by the title or just guess based on the timing of events, we're going to be talking about the recent results of the 2024 presidential election. And spoiler alert for those who've been off the grid for some fucking reason.
No. If you're off the grid, you're gonna know about it. I mean, even the Amish voted. The Amish voted. But
overall, the results are in, or at least suspected to be in. There's some contention, but we'll get into that later. The results are in, and Donald J. Trump is now our 47th president. He just won re-election against Kamala Harris. Or I just say Kamala because her name spells that way. God forbid I'm saying it the other way. And boy, it's it is something. It is wild. It is wild. Let me tell you. Me and my girl, we was literally doing New Year's countdown. This shit. We was literally I stayed up all the way till the middle of the night, and me and my girl, we literally was watching the race go on and on. You know, she had one prediction. I had another, but we both concluded that it was likely gonna go one way. And God, when you're given two different choices, it's obviously going to go one way.
But I feel bad for Jill Stein or Robert Kennedy. These guys, I feel bad for any Green Party or independent. Like, as someone who's an independent voter, I genuinely feel bad for them because, they're never going to have a shot. It's either, this is truly a bi-party country, and bipartisan country, and you just have no leg to stand on in this situation.
But in regards to the election itself, it wasn't just a straight up victory for Trump. It was a proud out meltdown in terms of, or just landslide. I wouldn't say landslide, but definitely
it was definitely a landslide.
It was not a landslide because up until the final stretch, Trump and Harris were only really different in terms of points by 30 to 20 points. So it was close.
It was. No,
Tom, it was in the beginning.
No. So let me tell you something. I was watching this live. Me and my girl were watching this live. Let me tell you something. Trump, up until a certain point, up until he got to 210 electoral votes, he hasn't gone past that in a good minute. We was watching as Harris rise at that point after Trump got 210 because some states haven't reported their ballots just yet. But up until Trump's, the pace that Trump was getting these votes started to slow down.
It didn't really matter. He still won. But up until the point where his thing was starting to slow down, before that happened, Trump had a massive lead, doubling her whatever her amount is, to where like she had like what 81. 81 I saw on like you can just find the results. You can find the live viewing on Google. She had like 81 or something, right? And Trump had at least 96. Not 96. 167. Like clearly doubling her amount, and that reflected pretty much immediately because Trump was one of the first few people to get their name on the ballot when it comes to telling the vote immediately, and the rate at which he was getting those votes only coincided the fact like he won every single swing state, like every single one. Like that's fucking. One has to admit that's impressive. Every single swing state.
Yeah, and it was kind of funny because I don't know. Now, obviously, I'm not going to. Well, obviously, I was doing my own thing at around that same time, i.e., going to bed. But I knew this election was going to occur the way it did by one simple event.
What's
wasn't
that?
Just, and some people will say that it was due to the poor event with the whole coup attempt with Harris and Biden. Some people say it was the many different poor interviews and this and that. My smoking gun, which allowed me to predict that Trump was going to win, was back in his original assassination attempt back in July. I knew that after that photo, after that attempt happened, it was automatic victory.
Well, not necessarily. Not necessarily. It definitely sparked a lot of people to swing his way.
You say not necessarily. Who win? Who won?
Exactly. I'm not denying that it definitely played a role. I mean, fuck. Even though I was never like, a Trump apologist, I was definitely not a Democrat. But like, I was by no means a Trump apologist. I told you literally when I fucking fist up on American flag with a bloody ear type shit. When that photo started circling on social media, I told you, like him or hate him, that photo go hard as fuck. That is the most. That is the most American fucking photo I've seen in my life, man.
And I ain't saying much. And the thing is, but I knew then and there it was going to be that. Now, and let's for some of you people in the audience who are on social media or who are active on social media once in a while, or God forbid you be terminated online, it is a bloodbath right now. People on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, the news anchors, everything. Everyone is just
have you seen the recent showing of The View? Oh God, I got a lot to say about that.
I saw a couple clips of it, and boy. First off, Whoopi, very immature with her. Bro, told like, I'm not even going to say his name. Like, are you serious? You act like he's Voldemort. Thou shalt not name.
If I may, talk about before we get into the reaction, the fallout of this election. I want to get into to the journey we got to this point, right? Because now that we know what happened, like the results are in. The results are in. We can't change it. Nothing can change. It was pretty obvious by the time the race started beginning on Tuesday. And for what it's worth, like it or not, there's nothing that can be done. The most people can do right now is just try to live with the fact that we're gonna live in a fucking red country for a while. The Senate, the House, even the recent governor elections for certain states was predominantly red. This is a red year, and the way I see it, like that was bound to happen over the last 4 years when the country's been going to shit. But let's focus on the journey we got to this point and how it led to Trump's overall victory with 295 electoral votes and Harris having 226. I think you and I are both aware of this, but the Democratic Party, reminder, the listeners, we are nonpartisan. Me and Blaze, we are independent voters. We're not bound to any side. So this is completely coming from a moderate point of view, right? The Democratic Party, they fucked up. Like, they fucked up in both their marketing, their message, their campaign. They fucked up hard. Like, bro, they had a ball in their hand. They fumbled so badly. They basically they didn't even fumbled. They walked up to Trump in his party, gave him the ball, walked away, and still managed to fumble with it. That's how bad it is. Yeah. That's how bad it is. Because like in 2016 to 2020, and during that time, rather, let's look back 8 years ago when Trump and Hillary was fighting against each other. It was a massive divide. Like I would say, it was a closer race between that Hillary and Trump than it was for Kamala and Trump. It was a landslide victory for Trump versus Harris. But and honestly, and the best way you can answer that why is to reflect what happened in the last 8 years. When Trump beat Hillary, you know, a lot of people, you know, younger voters, first time voters, like, you know, we weren't voting at the time. We were 14 when Trump was running. Yeah, he was 14.
Yeah, it was in 2016. So yeah,
we were 14, right? So we weren't. We didn't vote, but a lot of people, young people especially, of the Gen Z, not even Gen Z, millennials, they were fed a lot of messaging that was obviously anti-Trump. They try to paint Hillary as the messiah for being the first woman president. Trump's a racist, bigoted, all that stuff like that. But somehow Trump automatically won. Somehow won. I mean, it's a close game. Don't get me wrong, but it was run. It was an easy win for Trump at some point. But over the last 4 years until 2020, Trump was obviously getting kind of the short end of the stick. He was 6 times the government trying to impeach him. Trump to this day has been accused of being a racist, homophobic, whatever the fuck, and you know, and a lot of things that he wanted to do during his time as president got shafted due to, I believe it was the Democratic Party that hold either a majority of the House or the Senate. Like they had majority of something, which is integral for Trump to even do his damn job. But, you know, a lot of things he wanted to do, he couldn't do effectively. He got his wall, but, you know, we all know what happened to that in the last 4 years. But that was 2016 to 2020. In 2020 race, because a lot of people hated Trump so badly, and Hillary was obviously not going to run again. She's way too old to even do that or she didn't even bother. It was between Joe Biden and Trump. Biden practically only won. He only won. Like we obviously you and I know that it was obviously rigged. It was, you know, Twitter, Facebook, whoever the fuck, they openly admitted to blocking a lot of Trump campaigns.
Facebook admitted, well, not just Facebook. Facebook a lot more inclusion with the FBI and I guess another group, I'm not sure which. They admitted to trying to suppress and forcing Facebook and other social medias to suppress any form of coverage over the Biden laptop fiasco.
What's that got to do with the Trump campaign? I know the Trump campaign got you know, fucking shafted.
No, because it's not that it had to do with the Trump campaign per se in the 2020 election. It's the fact that people have made choices. One was more swayed into picking over Biden because they didn't actually see the scandals Biden was a part of, or at least someone close to Biden was partaking, especially since Hunter Biden had close ties to the government outside of Biden's connection as well. And it didn't help that Trump, and let's be honest here, you want to talk about the Trump campaign, it didn't matter what Trump did in that campaign, because in the 2020 election, because there was a lot of younger people at that time being fed with the false premise of his
character,
not his character, but his ability as a leader. And for some reason, despite nothing happening during those 4 years, they just kept blaming all kinds of shit on him. Shit that isn't even relevant to his capacity as a leader. That let's be honest, most people were probably voted for him because they just didn't want him in, rather than his lack of ability as a leader, as a president. But then you have the collusion with the FBI and the suppression of a lot of information, and I think reported voter fraud, but to a degree that I can't confirm nor deny. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, let's assume that obviously, we obviously know the case, but let's assume that there was no voter fraud. Like, the votes were there, but it was mainly because of the influence of social media or things like that. We know Trump had a massive disadvantage during the 2020 election, because so many people who lived through, who grew up voting, grew up to the age where, like, because we didn't vote for Trump in 2020, right? I didn't. I know I didn't. I voted for Biden, 4 years ago, purely because I was fed this anti-Trump mantra. Like, there was a point where I thought myself, before I started voting, right? I thought myself like a personal Democrat, because I have been taught or believed that Democrats are always on my side, and I was fed that mantra. But I started to lose that image of the Democrats as I got older. Like, the image of Democrats wasn't so much as people on my side, but just about as any possible corrupt politicians. Again, I wasn't a Republican, man. I still am not. I wasn't a Republican by any stretch of the means. But as I got older and I started to realize what politics does to people, like, it fucking corrodes their mind. I will always be an advocate to say that politics are a poison, and if you know nothing about politics, you should have no leg in that race. Like, I'm a firm believer that only 10% of any given population knows about politics. And I'm obviously not part of the 10%, because there are things that even I do not know about inner workings of my. I know the bare minimum of shit, but I do know about philosophy. I know philosophy is very integral when it comes to politics. But back to the whole 2020 race. When I voted for Biden, I was still under the camp that I guess I haven't really walked away from the Democratic messaging, because I thought it's Trump as like a at the time I didn't think of him that harshly, but but considering that I grew up from 2016 to 2020 through the country's influence as him being our leader, I didn't put too much thought into it. I mean, at the time I thought to myself, like, both are terrible because Biden's too old. I knew back then he was old. And at the time, I thought
it was just that he was old. He was just mentally gone.
Well, I didn't concede it. I didn't concede the idea that he was mentally there. I thought, this motherfucker is literally gonna die before he gets to 2024. Why the fuck would I vote for him? But I voted for him because I had anti-Trump residue. But after I voted for him, after the very first year, this is when COVID hit, right? Well, rather, I think COVID hit during the last year of Trump, and Biden picked it up. I think COVID was at its early stages at the time. I don't think COVID was really impactful until like a few months in after it already got to America. But I do know it happened slightly near the end of Trump's term. So Biden kind of got shafted with that in the beginning anyway. It doesn't really matter. He wasn't really fit for the job at that point. But when Biden got in, like, I was living this mindset that maybe he'll be different. I get to actually see the influence of my decision of voting for Biden. And let me tell you, if I can go back and rechange my vote, I do in a heartbeat, because the last 4 years was absolute shite. The Democrat Party was lying for the first 3 years, not even 2, 3 years. They was lying to Americans' face about his mental condition. It wasn't until this year that the Democratic Party told Biden to step his ass down and appointed Kamala to be the next Democratic representative for president, which in this single year alone of her campaign was absolutely shit. She alienated half the voter base by virtue of campaigning for purely based on abortion rights, right? That is terrible marketing, and it because of that, Trump had an easy layup by gravitating towards the people that was being alienated by the Trump campaign. Like, put it this way. There would, I'm sure you heard of the thing called like white dudes for Harris or white dudes for Harris.
Oh yeah, that like a couple months ago.
That dumb beta male shit I have ever seen in my life. They would have never needed that if the Democratic Party actually fucking cared about the opinions of men. So 50% of the population gone. Like I'm sure you saw the voter base stats where you see the range of where people, like what demographics were doing it. Men, a lot of men who by the way make up less percentage, like in terms of 50% of the population, the voter base for men in the last 4 years until recently has been small. Like in comparison to women, like women vote more nowadays compared to men. Men completely shifted that statistic because they overwhelmingly, like on population alone, they overwhelmed the voters for Harris. And if you go about other demographics, a majority of white women in the country voted for him. Hispanics, black people did. I mentioned the Amish like a few minutes ago. Yeah, believe it or not, the Amish, who are known for never taking part in any election, they came out of hiding to vote for Trump. Let that sink in. You got people who rather be off the grid to come in and vote. That is fuck. I mean, fuck. Like him or hate him, like, you gotta admit, that is gangster as shit. You got people off the grid coming to vote for your ass. That is gangster as shit. And of course, like, but you know, like, so like a lot of people, you know, they came in and vote for Trump, but I would argue this. This is the two things that people vote for a candidate, right? They have to vote for someone who they think is the best choice for the country, right? Or if you're anything like me, listeners, if you're anything like me, how I was 4 years ago, you voted for someone purely because you don't want the other person to win. I think those two ways of voting, well, one of them obviously being very flawed in nature, I do believe plays a massive influence in this current race, because let's be frank, the Democratic Party, they picked the worst person to represent them, which is why I think they either did this as treating her as a scapegoat to absolve her from the party, because that's my personal theory. Because when she ran for president, I believe it's in 2020 or 2016 when she ran for president. I don't fucking remember.
She was running for president as far back as 16.
Okay. Well, when she was running for president, not fucking one, she's gotten a single vote. Not at least in the primaries of her own damn party. Not one. So that tells you the Democratic Party doesn't fucking like her. They never did. And of course, like, when she got appointed as VP, not voted, nothing like that. She got appointed by Biden to be by VP. Everyone was questioning, how the fuck did she even get there? Like, also, like, wasn't there a whole other person who was running as VP for Biden during the primaries? How did that happen? Like,
what?
Like Trump, when Trump was running, he chose Tim Walz personally. Tim Walz wasn't running, obviously, I don't think, but like, I don't know how the vice president's position really works, because typically you vote for the president, the vice president comes with, but like, I don't know. How does she even get in the vice president position to begin with?
She got in the vice president position with Biden because when Biden was running, he became the DNC candidate of 2020. He made an I gotta go. This is important.
Just mute yourself.
Oh yeah, but I'll answer that question in a bit.
All right, people. I guess it's gonna be me. Well, we'll follow up that question in just a sec. But let's get into the details of this race, listeners. The Democratic Party, as I said before, they fucked up big time. Let's talk about this current campaign, because now we know what happened 8 years ago during the Trump versus Biden race from 2016 to 2020. Let's look at the case in these last 4 years, from 2020 to our current juncture in 2024. Democratic Party they were not in a good position. That's not even just the Democratic Party, just the Biden Harris commission, right? Their performance in the Oval Office essentially boiled down to shitty, shitter, or even shittier, because we saw that the people practically gave up on Biden. Literally 2 years in, they gave up on him.
I'm back.
Well, that was fast, bro. Well,
yeah. It was someone related to my university tomorrow. So,
I guess I got LSAC, yeah.
No, not like that, but just a confirmation call, all that stuff.
Yes, but yeah.
What I miss?
I was talking about the Democratic Party's performance with these last 4 years, because we know like what happened, 8 years ago. We can now look into what happened in these last 4 years, because as I was getting into it, I said the last 2 years Americans fucking gave up on Biden, because at that point, like the writing was on the wall. Everybody knew that Biden was like practically a fucking vegetable, in my opinion. I know if you're a person who is related or who knows someone who is categorized as a vegetable, I do not mean that in any sort of meaningful way. I'm just saying Biden clearly needs to go to a fucking retirement home. But
it was more like the fact that
you cannot tell with a straight face he wasn't cognitively there. I still don't think he is.
No. I was just saying that with that information in regard to the fact that he was mentally like with Alzheimer's and just mentally impaired, that was clear from the jump. He was like over 70 something years old, pushing 80 at the time. So like he was in no position to lead, or at least have the competency long term. And it was clear from the jump that it wasn't him that was actually running. It was the people in his cabinet and whatever, and more like a puppet on a string. But both the leftist news outlets and pretty much everything else was trying to cover for it for years, and it just made the situation much worse.
Also, a bit off topic, but I mentioned earlier how like Trump, fucking got all this every single swing state. Should I also mention that he practically converted a lot of traditional Democratic states, like I believe it was either Michigan or some parts. I know Arizona was one of them, I think. California is forever blue. I'll get to that into why. But New York is also blue. Fucking massive blue. Maine is also blue. Like, these were given. Texas is like a guaranteed win for any Republican because it's always been a red state. Ohio as well. Kentucky as well. Kentucky, 64% overwhelmingly, voted. But put it this way, right? But we know, like, two years into, like, in 2022, at that point, a lot of Americans, stopped fucking with Biden. So now all eyes are practically on Harris, who was essentially the only thing keeping the presidency together, which isn't saying much because, let's be frank, she was appointed as the border czar, right?
Repeat that.
Was there a delay or the latency? I'll repeat my question. Like, we know that Harris was appointed as the border czar, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, we've given up on Biden being a functional president because we see that his administration, the things that he was doing or lack thereof, was exactly being very effective. Fast forward, we start seeing a massive, countrywide migration issue where Like, I'm gonna make this clear. I'm all for immigration. I'm all for, people coming into a country, whether it's for asylum, seeking opportunities, or just exploring or seeking a new life to live. I'm all for it. Come to America. I'm a proud American. You should. I would want you to be too. I just want that shit to be legal. Don't just come to my country illegally expecting me a warm hug. No, come to my country expecting a Luger in my hand and a beer in the other. I don't drink, but fuck it, that analogy doesn't work otherwise. Because we start seeing, legal migrants from every corner of the country coming in, from boats to from ships to, human trafficking things, from both from criminal cartels to even Americans, which I find very interesting. They started California, practically majority immigration. Texas border, struggling to maintain that shit with Trump's border wall. Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, some parts of Virginia, New York, get fucked. Your country is practically an illegal immigrant hell zone. There's like a bunch of these states that are, they are treated as like, what is it called, like sanctuary cities? And like, we saw this happening, and obviously the president wasn't, speaking on that. And matter of fact, he didn't need to, because his actions said otherwise. He opened the border and attempted to take down Trump's border wall. I say not succeeded because literally within the year of which Kamala started running for this year alone, when she started running for president. I believe it was this year when she started running. I think it was that or late last year, but I'm certain this is the year when Biden stepped down, like early this year. While I'm talking, look up when she joined the race. I'm pretty sure it was this year. Kamala. I'm pretty sure
she was always in the race, but she didn't win the DNC convention, the Democratic National Convention, that early this year until after Biden already won it, stepped down and gave it to her. She was always in the race. She just hasn't won, and she never won any votes though. And
she didn't win any votes to represent it in this current race, because she just literally stepped up while she was currently vice president. She didn't win any. She never got a fucking. If you don't count this current race of the Electoral College versus her and Trump, technically speaking, she never got a single vote from her own party.
No,
DNC didn't do shit about it. Every vote she ever gotten came from American voters alone.
That's why many people call it a coup, because you don't just.
Well, I don't use that word loosely. Just I don't use the word insurrection loosely when describing January 6th. Which, by the way, it's not a fucking insurrection. If you believe it was an insurrection, look up the word and know what it historically means.
Oh no! People say that. Oh, that's a topic for another day. But
we should do an episode on the term insurrection. I feel like there's a lot to discuss about that.
Again, one thing at a time.
Hey! This is our show. We can do what the fuck we want, right?
Not at least with some cohesion, please. Anyway, regarding regarding with the election though, with Kamala, the problem with this whole ordeal, and we saw a video about this just the other day too, is that her entire campaign, right? Since her entire campaign was just bad.
Oh yeah, certainly.
I don't mean it in the colloquial sense that she just really didn't do good enough. Like, it was bad from the jump.
I mean, she didn't do good enough anyway. She didn't campaign as hard as Trump did, and the message she was spreading was extremely small.
How hard she campaigned wasn't the issue.
It was part of it. It was part of it because Trump was seen everywhere. It's seen everywhere. Have you seen that meme? Hold up. He's seen that video where he was literally putting the fries in the bag, became a garbage man, and they literally bro. This dude literally. So I saw a meme earlier. Where it was like,
Shard, listen. That wasn't the problem.
I said it was part of it.
Yeah. it does. Well, it's not a huge part. The key factors that led to her downfall wasn't any of that. Instead, it was the reality of how should I say? The issue was that her entire campaign wasn't built around policy.
No,
it wasn't. It was built around this
identity politics.
Uncontrolled,
identity politics.
Oh, and that was part of it, but no. But the real kicker in the nads here was not for the fact that she was not on politics. She was not talking about policy. She was not talking business on literally anything relevant to the American people, but rather it was about feel-goodisms and, yeah, identity politics, but also just fear-mongering Trump. Now, here's the thing. People in the audience, I want you to understand something, right? You can hate Trump by every metric imaginable. Lord knows, I'm gonna be the first. I'll be the first to criticize him when it's deserved, right? I'll be the first. But here's the problem: Trump, you can't say he's this fascist, this and that, and but yet as well as suggesting that his supporters are evil people. Let's keep in mind, Trump won not just the electorate, but the popular vote, meaning that majority of the people in this country felt right into their choice of picking Trump over Kamala by a large margin. Large margin, I mean, not Martian, but margin. And it is also important to keep in mind that, and first off, you can't say...
use your words, buddy. Use your words.
Stuttering.
I'm not saying who said you're not stuttering. I said use your word because I feel like your grammar.
Stop.
Your grammar.
My grammar is, let's not do start this on the show. My grammar is fine. You can't accuse his followers as sexist because once upon a time Hillary had the popular vote, so America was willing to have a female leader. You can't accuse racism for all the minority voters voting for him.
Yep, especially Latinos who mind you, who were the very first vocal people to criticize him. Not even black folk, just Latinos were the first ones.
But you can't accuse racism because once upon a time, Obama was president, and it's not as if the people who was around then just disappeared by around this time. They're still around. It only been about 16 years, roughly 12 years since Obama first started in 2008. So you can't accuse racism there. You can't. So the real question is, what's the problem? Well, let's talk about this. Even if you have your criticisms of Trump, you cannot deny that a lot of the problems that led to Kamala's downfall was Kamala's own fault.
Well, not just her own fault, but just the Democratic Party. The Democrats as a whole, they fucked up.
Oh, the DNC did not help. Don't get me wrong. The DNC and the news outlets did not help at all because they wanted to villainize and ostracize anyone who supported her. And I hear this term being used.
Wait. You saying that Democrats villainize anyone who supported Harris?
Harris or Trump, I mean. But no, anyone who even remotely had a better opinion of Trump than Kamala, or just did not simply like Kamala of all things. They're not necessarily they voted for Trump because they like him, just they didn't support Kamala. They were ostracized and just basically blacklisted off the face of the earth and calling them all kinds of random isms and phobes. And mind you, there's a key word that I hear getting used a lot in the bloodbath in this post-election discourse is this populism or populism where refers to a politician who caters to the people who feels like they're being screwed over by the larger system, right? And in this case, it's people feeling like they're being screwed over by the machine known as the DNC or people and their supporters. So if you do not kowtow to their line, you are being screwed over by members of that DNC and its follower base.
they're just making up words for everything now, do they?
No, that's a real life phenomenon. It's just that populism does describe that. It's just that it's oftentimes applied in situations where a politician takes advantage of people in misfortune. And yeah, one can argue that's what Trump doing, but one can also argue that it's not exactly unlikely or unreasonable for him to do that, given that the proof is in the pudding. The DNC has shown on multiple occasions, if not even now, post the election, post results, that as soon as something doesn't go their way, they're willing to point fingers on literally everyone who's supposed to be on their side.
What do you mean?
I've heard a lot of like Obama. Let's take Obama for example. When he recently started speaking out more often to help Kamala, what did he do? He started like questioning and like
he started
attacking and guilt tripping black men who did not want to support Trump. The DNC and a lot of people who are a lot of leftist people started to question women about why did they vote for a man who quote unquote don't care about the reproductive rights,
which is false. Which is false.
Which is very much false because that's not what his goal was in the first place. The Roe versus Wade fiasco was proof in its pudding.
Also, I don't think people keep saying Trump got rid of Roe versus Wade. He didn't do that. It didn't get overturned because he did anything. Congress did that.
No, the judicial system did that.
Even so, like he didn't do anything. Why people keep blaming him for something that he didn't do?
Because it's something he himself promised, and it didn't help that he also appointed Brett Kavanaugh, and I think just one other person into the Supreme Court. So one can argue that even if he himself didn't do it directly, not that he could, but the people he elected in, along with having a majority of the Supreme Court, was the hair that broke the camel's back kind of thing. But also the DNC blaming Latinos or literally any minority group, saying that, oh, why you want a guy who would take the first chance to deport your tail out of the country, even though if they're voting, they're likely American citizens in the first place. So why would they be deported at all? You see my point? Like, as soon as something doesn't go down their way, you therefore point the finger and blame everyone around you. And now they feel like they're being screwed over by this larger machine. So why else would? So it makes perfect sense why Trump would cater to that group. Even if you assume that he really was this evil person, you can't be surprised that he would try cater to those people if those people feel like they've been left with no choice but to support him, because the other side would demonize them for not supporting them. Either you're with us or you're against us. At least
we adopted a tribalistic country culture to where it's either my side or yours, us versus them mentality. And for a country that's called United States, we're pretty goddamn divided.
Oh no, it's not the tribalism factor that makes it worse.
It's part of it. You cannot deny that there was some tribalistic behavior.
It's not the tribalism by itself that has the problem. It's the fact
I never say about being by itself. I never say it by itself.
Let me finish. It's not about the tribalism that makes it the problem. It's the fact that we want to have this inclusive idea of the melting pot of cultures, yada yada yada, but the first sign of something that seems out of line from our own individual ideals, which contradicts the previous statement, we therefore default back to the tribalism. Because here's the thing, tribalism is a normal part of human biology. We're social creatures, but we also recognize that we don't work well with other people who don't match our ideals or interests. But for the United States, for United States standard, we have to go beyond the tribalistic instinct and try to work with people who are obviously different from us. But obviously that can't work when our ideas are so detached from another, or you have these people who are willing to go the extra step forward and attack literally anyone who doesn't fit their narrative. Sure, you have bad people on the right, but you have plenty of bad people on the left as well. And you try to ignore or pretend it's not as severe. That is dumb.
Also, have you seen CNN's goddamn review of the election results? Listen to this. Donald Trump will be America's 47th president after mounting the most monumentous comeback in political history that will hand him massive disruptive power at home and will send shockwaves around the world. 4 years after leaving Washington as a pariah, following his attempt to overturn the 2020 election to stay in office, Trump's victory defied two assassination attempts, 2 presidential impeachments, well, 6, his criminal convictions, and many other criminal charges. No, and no. He never tried to overturn the 2020 election because that was an accusation created by the Democratic Party when they themselves were literally overturning the election. The assassination attempts, I mean, yeah, he defied them. He'd rather not defy. He survived them because one guy, even though he was so close, he was pretty damn accurate, all things considered. He got shot down after the first few shots, hit someone else. And Bunyan, the second guy, who didn't even get a shot off, I don't think, at least on him, he got mowed down instantly after his gun muzzle was found. And both type of people were were Kamala extremists. We know they were because, well, one of them, at least is for sure, is a Kamala supporter because photos of him in the past showed Kamala Harris or Biden flags on his house. And while we can definitely assume, I haven't even got to shoot his name. The first guy back at I think it was
first guy was like roughly our age, 22.
No, he was younger. He was 17.
No, he wasn't that young. He was roughly our age in his like early 20s.
And he was definitely younger than us. I had the luxury to call this kid a kid. And let me tell you something. This motherfucker, this dumbass, while being very accurate and clearly exercising his Second Amendment rights, didn't really pan out so well after he got shot down repeatedly, which, I mean, I'm still going to never live this down. The fucking Secret Service people that was protecting Trump, Christ on a stick, those are incompetent. I know he got new ones, but like at the time, God, literally an inch saved his life. You love to see it. But it was 6 impeachments and the criminal convictions. He was
6
false
impeachments.
No,
Only 2.
No, 2 that 2 that we know of, but the report that technically there were 6 impeachment attempts, with 2 of them being the ones that CNN is reporting. Like they're not reporting the actual truth. It was 6, and the criminal convictions and criminal charges, a lot of them were not even felonies. Like it was that was a political trial all by itself. This thing literally paints Trump as like this dictator as criminal, and God, a lot of people are just falling for it. I don't know who the fuck takes CNN seriously. They're about to take it seriously if shit that's the fucking review.
People who are watching CNN are the ones who are left-wing supporters in the first place.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, they if you watch CNN, you believe they're blind shit. Let me tell you, the shit you can find blind believers of the View, because let me tell you, they're not exactly pleased to the idea of Trump, like Trump winning. Like it was pretty fucking bad. I forgot who was on. I believe it was fucking Farrah Griffin. And like I think it was Farrah Griffin. Like there was someone on the thing. I believe it was it was Alyssa Farrah Griffin. I'm looking this up right now. She had the gall to say some dumbass shit regarding Trump, say like is that her name? I feel like it's not her.
Are you talking about someone on The View?
Yeah,
Hold on. I need to read something. I think let me see. I'm looking this up. I want to make sure I know exactly who I'm talking about. Otherwise, I'm gonna sound pretentious as shit. Okay, no, it wasn't Farrah Griffin. It was from someone named Sunny Hostin, and this is her quote. Have you seen the actual review? I watched it live when it happened. Let me tell you, this chick is stupid. Like she's.
I just don't watch the view because it's just pointless.
The only reason I watched, I don't either. But the only reason I watched this particular live viewing was because one. Well, I can't say live. It wasn't live, but I saw the clip. I saw the reaction. Who the fuck take these people seriously, man? Like they clearly have no idea what they're talking about. Countless times, certain guests in the show is called out on their shit, and they clearly would not pay attention. Listen to what she had to say. I am profoundly disturbed. In 2016, we didn't know what we would get from a Trump administration, but we know now. I've almost and he will now fuck. We now. The person did not type this quote correctly. We know he will have almost unfettered power. No, he does not. He is bounded by the rules of the checks and balances. I don't worry about myself, actually. I worry about the working class. I worry about my mother, a retired teacher. I worry about elderly in the Social Security and their Medicare. Trump is not attacking Social Security. I worry about my children's future, especially my daughter, who now has less rights than I have. Notice she does not. What rights have been removed via this election? None. That's how that shit works. And even if rights will be removed or will be added, guess what? They have to pass through Congress because Congress writes the rights. Trump only signs up on them. The president only signs off on those things. So something tells me that it's not about that. I remember my father telling me many years ago that I was the first person in his family to enjoy full civil rights. Now I know how old I know Sunny Houston's like a bit on the older side. I would say she's at least, I'm not gonna say millennial, but definitely no, she's not, but she's definitely millennial. Yeah, she has liberty of full civil rights because a lot of people in the boomer generation were still going through that phase. So that's gonna be the case. Let me tell you, I would get into it a bit more, but for the sake of time, because we don't have too long left of time to show. But it was rough. Like I encourage people to find that clip, watch it, and just honestly just laugh because it was a dumbass fucking showing.
Yeah, and mind you, while we will be referencing this election and the many different parts that led to this election in future episodes. This will be our last and only time we'll bring this up, at least as a main topic, as not only do we have to wait and see for Trump's inauguration and all the other nonsense that will happen up until January, but also to see, also let the discourse die down as much as possible before it gets out of hand.
Although we will be talking about it soon.
I'm sure, but no doubt that there'll be people who will be up Trump's ass or on Trump's radar, even long after the discourse dies down, because God forbid they just let the man do his job and criticize every little inch of movement he makes. But I digress. But in any case, thank you guys for watching or listening in. If you like what you see here, feel free to subscribe, like, and put a comment down. Comments down below if you're rewatching this from the backlogs. Follow us on our social medias; they're in the links in the description.
If you want to see more, please let us know No, please tell us that this video give you it was a W or a L. Let us know your personal take in. Let us know if Trump deserved his win or he didn't. I believe he did, but who gives a shit? Without being said, I'm Shard.
I'm Blaze.
And this has been your weekly dose of bullshit. Later, everyone.
Bye-bye.